Hi, I'm Stella and welcome to my channel 30 Books, where I talk about Australian books and Australian writers to inspire you to go out and buy or borrow an Australian book. And as part of Port Fairy's Literary Weekend 2021 here at Blarney Books and Arts, I'm speaking to an Australian writer, Lyn Yeowart. Hi Lyn, and thanks for coming on my channel.
Thank you, Stella. This is a delight and an honour.
Excellent, excellent. So you have been here this weekend. You're on a panel talking about your book, which was released this year in February. Hold it up for the people, the silent listener. Bring it a little bit close. There you go. Oh, yep, beautiful. Look at that, it's thrumming with energy. Now, I have reviewed this book on my channel, but for you people who haven't gone and heard about this particular book, give us a 2-sentence pitch.
Right, this is a psychological thriller set in rural Australia about a family that is drenched in secrets and lies, and two sisters who decide to wreak revenge, and there's a missing little girl and at least 2 other mysterious deaths that need to be sorted out and things to be brought back into order.
It sounds like a jolly good read.
Well, I should hope so. It is a jolly good read, Stella.
So tell us a bit about the inspiration for this book.
Okay, so as it says on the inside cover, it's loosely based on my childhood, which I guess probably was a little bit grim. I'd like to think I'm not grim myself, but yeah, there were some aspects of my childhood that were pretty hard and difficult, so I've woven them into the story, but I've also mixed a lot of fiction into the novel. So like the little girl who goes missing, there wasn't a little girl who went missing when I was a child, even though I was quite fascinated by the fact that those sorts of things did happen. And then the other 2 sort of, I'm going to say, murders, just to use a very simple term. Neither of those happened in my real life either. So a lot of fiction and hopefully a lot of sort of fast-paced action, as well as I'd like to think also raising some issues that I think we should all be talking about.
And talking about the issues that we're talking about, you've done it in a kind of a way where you're not beating people over the head with it, but it's kind of a different way of exploring those issues, like of child abuse and secrets.
Yeah, I didn't want to write, I guess, a non-fiction essay that sort of told people this is how you should live your life and this is what you should do and shouldn't do when you're raising children. So I think fiction allows us to go places where we can't with non-fiction. And I also didn't want it to just be autobiographical because, I don't think my life was that interesting on many levels. So I think the weaving in a bit of fiction with some reality, and I'm going to say some emotional truth, hopefully has enabled me to put together a package that's really readable, but does make people think a little bit about childhood abuse and family trauma.
It is a cracking great read. I thought it was fantastic, and you obviously love literature and love words and love language as well. But what doesn't? So it's been sort of put as crime fiction. But the thing that also, you're really great with characters. So tell us about Joy. She's the protagonist.
Okay, so when we first meet Joy, she's 33 years old and she's come back to nurse her dying father, come back to the farm that she grew up on. So we see 2 parts of Joy's life. One when she's 33 and she comes back to, yes, look after her dying father, and the words look after might be in inverted commas. And the other part of Joy that we see is when she's 11/12 years old and she's living on this farm that's kind of mired in secrets and lies and also violence and punishments under a regime that her father holds over the family, all kind of with this backdrop of religious fanaticism. So we see her having to cope with that as a child. She also loves language and books, and there's a part of that that's woven through the story. And then she comes back as a 33-year-old and essentially sets out to wreak revenge on her father.
And you don't get to hear any more. You have to go and buy or borrow the book. Okay, now I have got a bunch of questions.
Oh, right. Okay. Fire away.
Ready?
Yes.
What's the last Australian book that you read?
I just finished reading Nancy Business by R.W.R. MacDonald and absolutely loved it. I read The Nancys when it came out last year, I think, and could not wait to get hold of Nancy Business. It's great. It's a ripping read.
It's pretty special, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you're on a panel. You're not just saying that because you're on a panel with him, but that book could not be, well, I was going to say couldn't be further removed than yours, but even though it's, don't be fooled by it because it's got some pretty grim stuff in it. It's great. It's a romp.
Yeah, it is a romp, but I remember when I read The Nancys too, I thought, it is a romp and you laugh out loud. There are laugh out loud moments in it, but there's a gruesome murder in both The Nancys and Nancy Business. So while you see it all through the eyes of this 11-year-old, it is definitely an adult read because there's a lot of, innuendos that Tippy, the 11-year-old, doesn't get. But also, yeah, there are gruesome murders and they need to be solved.
And there's a ferret, Stella Joe the ferret. Keep an eye out for her. Ready?
Yep.
Favourite. Now, I shouldn't say this, but favourite book, or what's a favourite book? Or an influential book?
Oh, look, I'm going to say, even though it has almost nothing to do with this book, I'm going to say The Plague by Albert Camus because I read it when I was about 13 years old and it was the first grown-up book that I'd ever read, past, Enid Blyton and...
You went from Enid Blyton to Albert Camus. Wow!
Pretty much.
You were a child genius.
Yeah, I absolutely was. Yes, definitely. And I remember reading that book and being blown away that you could write books about issues and people rather than just adventures and, kids,
And jam and picnics.
Yeah, lashings of cream and so on. And I thought, boy, if I could ever do anything in my life, it would be to write something like The Plague, which I haven't done, of course, but it really did influence me in terms of realising what writers could do well and beyond what Enid Blyton did.
And did you always want to be a writer?
Yes, I did always want to be a writer, and so you might ask, why am I so old?
No one was actually asking that.
Excellent. I would have been very annoyed if you had.
Yes.
No,
So, Lyn, why are you so old?
Get stuffed, Stella.
Who would ask that question? I don't know. Maybe a 16-year-old.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. I don't know. I did always want to be a writer, and my day job is writing, so I kind of fell into that and convinced myself maybe that I was a writer. Well, I guess I am a writer.
You have a published book, which
Yes.
is excellent, and you're at a literary weekend festival. I think you're a writer.
Yeah, I'm going with that. That sounds good.
Yes. So, a book that you wish you had written. Is that?
Yep.
Yeah, Albert Camus.
No, because I reread it about 3 years ago, and I thought, it's not my favourite book anymore. It just influenced me in terms of thinking, okay, I can see what books and authors can be. So that was a big influence for me as a very young teenager. But in terms of the book that I wish I'd written, I don't know. I'm going to say this is a pretty commonly highly regarded book, is A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Towles. I think it's absolutely brilliant. But I'm also going to say Signature of All Things by Elizabeth Gilbert.
Oh, really? So why that particular... What about the ending of that book? I was like, now where are we? So
That's true. I just like the grand scale of it and the ambition of it. And I think that's true also of A Gentleman in Moscow. They're grand stories that delve into the inner workings of one person over many, many years, and I think that gives writers a scope to really explore and I guess even, play around with the characters and their environment. I just admire both of those books greatly. But, you know, how do we choose one book or two books? There's so many great ones.
I know, it's a hard question. Biggest bitch in literature?
Stellar Glory.
No, in the book.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realise that's what you meant.
Yeah.
Or
To you.
Cruella de Vil. I would like to play
Aye.
Cruella de Vil in a theatrical version. If there are any producers out there looking for somebody to play Cruella de Vil.
Right. Oh, now here is one. Dialogue or description?
Dialogue. I learnt while I was writing this. I had lots of descriptive paragraphs that while I was reworking and redrafting the manuscript, there were lots of them I thought, oh, I can change this into dialogue. And every time I did it, I was really glad that I did. And I think it made for much better and much tighter writing. And it's not just about having action and people talking. There's something else that goes on in dialogue where I think you examine the character a whole lot more, and your dialogue has to be true to the character, which means that it's not just coming kind of from inside your head. It's coming, I don't know, I'm going to say you're sort of channeling the character, and I think that's really important.
Do you love writing? So this is a tricky one because, you know, like people go, oh, look, I can't help but love it. And I have artist friends, I can't wait to get in the studio. But writers, do you like writing?
I'm going to say yes, but I'm also going to say sometimes it's easy to procrastinate, you know.
Isn't it? Do you think now it's easier to procrastinate in the modern age than it ever was before?
Yeah, I wish we'd never invented Instagram and the whole social media thing. Food, television, cats, kids, couches with blankets, I don't know, gardens, work. I know.
Shopping. Like, if you know, if I said, if I could wave a wand and say, from now on, all you have to do is write, which actually, well, that would be your dream, wouldn't it? But would we get any more done?
I think I could deal with writing being my whole day job. But you can't do it, well, I was going to say 24 hours a day. You can't even do it 12 hours a day. No. You've got to, and I think if you did, I think the writing would become boring. You've actually got to be a person. You've got to interact with other people and environments and think about what's happening in the world and, well, I don't know, all of that sort of stuff. Does that sound intelligent? And
for my channel, yes.
Oh, that's a good point.
Show us your cup. Oh, hang on. We'll do that at the end. I know what we'll do. Lyn Yeowart, thank you for coming on to my program after a long last, and it's been a pleasure having you on.
Thank you.